I found this to be quite upsetting, um, as a presentation, as a story presentation. So I'm just going to let Livy get on with it. Um, and I do want to say, though, that these kinds of stories really bother me to a large extent, because you can see the damage that has been inflicted on this young lady. So I'm gonna let her take it away. Like I say, I didn't really expect anyone to be watching this, because it's late at night, and it's boiling hot. Uh, I'm sure people in Europe who are awake at this time have got their own heat wave to contend with, and no one's really at home watching YouTube. So I thought I'd squeeze this deconversion story in, just to have another look. Not that we need another look, but there are so many stories out there that are similar to this, on the poison that is Christianity. So I think what I'm going to do is just turn it over to Livi A here. But in order to do that, you have to understand that I'm not quite ready for this. I have to set up another scene. I think. All right. I think. No, that's not good. That's not good. Sorry. Should I hum something to keep you occupied in the meantime? Well, I'm not going to. Okay, so let's see. You just fade her in like this. And I would say, Livy, take it away.
I just wanted to share my quick story with everybody. I'd like to start some videos. I've never done anything like this before, but it's summertime. I'm out of school, and I have a lot going on family-wise, and in my personal life, because my family now knows that I'm an atheist. Not because I told them. My brother found out because of Facebook pages that I did not know they had an activity log, and you could see. So everything just kind of went downhill from there. That was about a year ago, and my family refuses to accept this. It's caused a lot of trouble in my family, and I haven't seen too many female videos online about what happened to them when they came out as an atheist to their family. I've seen a lot of videos, but not too many follow-ups on how things were going afterwards, after they came out. Maybe I just didn't look in the right place, but I wanted to share my story with everybody. And in a way, it's me venting. It's like, I guess, a little bit of therapy for me, because I feel like I have nobody to talk to about this.
Yeah, well, talk to us.
I feel like a lot of people just don't really care. They just believe it, and that's enough for them.
Oh, I wonder what she means by that. A lot of people don't really care. Is she perhaps talking about the people in her own Christian community who don't care that she has questions? And I suspect that we're going to have another situation here where a young Christian mind cannot be held back. Questions come up. Questions must be answered. Questions cannot be swept under the rug, because nobody asking a question that is swept under the rug will accept that as an answer. Therefore, the question will still linger.
For them, it makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside, and they don't want to step outside of their comfort zone. So I feel like I've stepped out of my comfort zone, and there's no turning back. Once I've found out the things I found out, I can't just go back to the way I was before. Um, uh, so let me start off with my story. I grew up in a very strict fundamentalist Christian home. We grew up going to um, churches where we spoke in tongues. We got anointed in the Holy Spirit. People were prophesying in church. My parents were so strict that I couldn't even have Catholic friends because they prayed to Mary, and that was a no. No, you can't pray to Mary, or you can't say repetitive prayers either. That was a bad thing. So, let's see. My first time really questioning things, I went to lunch with my father one time and asked him, what happens to all the people that don't accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior? And he basically said that they all go to hell, all of them. And I just got angry. That's not right. That's not fair. And it did cause an argument between us. But I always kind of question things. I have an older brother and an older sister, and they didn't seem to really question it like I did. I don't know. Maybe it's just inbred in me to be more inquisitive. I don't know. But anyway, that was my first time really questioning things. And the second time was not that long ago. I did get through a rebellious stage growing up. Like I said, I'm 30 years old. My early 20s, I was kind of the black sheep. But I always believed. I always truly believed that God heard my prayers. I always felt guilty and dirty for all the bad things that I did, even though I did bad things and partied and all that. I still believed in God, and it was a genuine belief. I always thought, I'm going to make it right. I'm going to make it right. And I did periodically. I would make things right and come back to God, and it never stuck with me. It never stayed. My brother and sister, they never seemed to go through anything like that. They might have had a little bit of a rebellious period, but they always were like this with God. They talked to God a lot, and God apparently talked to them a lot. And my parents too. But I never seemed to hear from him except for little hints of things here and there, like I love you in my ear, or shouldn't do that. But now I think that's probably my conscience telling me, this could have bad consequences, or this might make things right with someone. I think our conscience is constantly talks to us. Anyway, the next thing that happened was a couple of years ago. I watched this documentary, and don't worry, I'm not going to get too far off topic with this. It was called Food Inc. It's a great documentary. If anybody gets a chance to see it, it's on Netflix. It has nothing to do with atheism or non-belief in God. It just showed where our food comes from, pretty much. And I love animals. I have 2 pugs, George and Henry. Those are my loves. I love them so much, like they're my kids. But I've always loved animals. And seeing what happened to these cows and pigs, and just the general everyday practices, and learning just how many are sacrificed for.
I find as well that Christians have a mean streak. They have an absolute mean streak inside them. They don't have any sympathy for humans nor animals. And it is disturbing to me to the extent that Christians can hide their emotions, can just numb them out, and be dogmatic, nevertheless be dogmatic, thoroughly dogmatic in pursuing their ideological goals, irrespective of whether there's humans suffering of others involved. Christians, when it comes to human feelings against people that they perceive are not worthy, in other words, they're not Christians, they aren't there. Those feelings just aren't there. I get the feeling that a Christian's feeling towards the death, torture, immolation, slow torture of anyone that's not a Christian is akin to somebody who's the feeling of somebody with an axe in their hand who's about to chop down the tree, and the feeling that that axe man has for the tree is the same as the feeling that a Christian has for a non-Christian victim. That's my 2 cents. Sorry, that's probably my 5 cents.
For us to eat them in the cruel way in which they're raised and killed just so we can eat them, it just made me question things like that. It made me sick to my stomach seeing that, and I haven't touched pork or beef since then, not once. I might have eaten chicken a few times or turkey, but it took.
Why? Are turkeys killed more humanely and chickens killed more humanely than cows and what else? What was the other thing you ate? Cows and something? I forget. Sorry.
Totally just disgusted me, and I wanted no part of that. But it made me think of evil. That's what really started making me think of evil, and why would God allow this, so much suffering? And then I thought, I really was interested in the Holocaust, even in high school. You know, that was always in the back of my mind too. Like, why would God allow something like that? You know, that really got to me. And then this food.
Yes, that really got to me too. And you can't ask a question like, why didn't God stop the Holocaust or whatever. You can't really ask that question and expect a rational answer. Or should I say, you shouldn't expect a rational answer that excuses God. Because the only answer that successfully resolves the question is the answer that says, there is no God. The God you speak of is imaginary. Oh, is that the case? Well, in that case, I think I understand how come the Holocaust started. It wasn't stopped. There were atrocities. There's still atrocities. Da 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 da. The Catholics committed atrocities against the Jews, and the Nazis and the Catholics together support. It was a horrible display of human depravity. No God needed, no God involved, nothing. Okay, this pretty much disproves all these videos, all these testimonies, all these stories. Whole of history disproves God. I'm just trying to help it along. I'm trying to help the whole notion of God, firstly, be recognized as being ridiculous, and secondly, stop revering something that doesn't exist. It makes no sense. People die because of this nonsense.
Food Inc. really got to me. it just, why I cried and just begged God to just explain to me why. I would pray every night that these animals wouldn't feel pain. For a good amount of last year, I prayed that God, please, the animals that are going to be slaughtered today, just help them not to feel any pain. That's how much I was worried about it. But I never thought, well, why would he? I mean, I did think of why he would allow it, but I didn't go really deep into thinking about it. Well, another documentary that I came across about a year ago was one called The Nature of Existence. And it's supposed to be on Netflix, but I just checked and it wasn't there last time I checked. But it was a great documentary. It took the director 4 years to make the documentary. He goes around and talks to, I mean, every religion you can think of, and it took him 4 years. That's how long. All the different religions, and he just asked them basic questions. Why do we exist? You know, what is your purpose in life? What God are we supposed to worship? How are we supposed to live our life? And every single religion had a completely different answer. And they believed it from the bottom of their heart. They believed it without a doubt that their way was the right way. And that really got me thinking, like, there's no way Yahweh is the one God that just so happens to exist, the one that I just so happen to be raised to believe. It felt almost silly to believe that. But anyway,
Did she say no way? Well, I say Yahweh.
I still believe, but I just thought, you know what? There's just a God, one God, and he loves everybody, you know. And there's no place called hell. I looked into a lot of stories about hell. I was always so terrified that I was going to go to hell. That I read a book called 23 Minutes in Hell by Bill Wise. That just seems silly to me. And a lot of the stories online I've watched or read, and they all are very different, and some are very, very silly, to be honest. But I still was kind of scared of going to hell. But anyway, um, let me see, where was I? So after watching The Nature of Existence and The Food Inc., those two really got me
Food Inc.
questioning
Okay.
things. Okay, and then I thought, you know, it's not the Christian God. There's just one God. Blah blah blah. Sorry about that. Um,
Um, uh, sorry, just to interrupt you, Livy. Food Inc. I've heard that before. Now, what is Food Inc.? I haven't watched it, but am I right that it's a documentary of how the food industry is so inhumane to animals and how it pumps sort of pumps growth hormones into these poor little animals so that they can grow up bigger, fatter, stronger, quicker? Because Food Inc. seems to come up a lot. I don't think I even want to see it because of what I think it is. So if somebody was to fill me in, please go ahead.
and I started going to the singles Bible study because somebody told me about it, and I was really depressed at the time. This is about a year ago. So I started going to this singles Bible study, and the first night that I went there, um, I had a prayer partner or a accountability partner, and after the Bible study, she says, "Oh, honey, you just look like you've been through so much and you're just struggling with your relationship with God. He wants me to tell you that He loves you and He wants you to come back to Him." And that really, like, got to me. Like, I got goosebumps and very emotional. I started crying, and it kind of reconfirmed things for me again, I guess you could say. And she kind of told me, reminded me how the devil, doesn't want us to know that he exists. That's his greatest trick, apparently. How convenient. But the devil's, out to get me and ruin my life, and he's trying to deceive me with, different things that I've seen or heard. Anyway, uh, that night at the Bible study, she told me about the Holy Bible app for your phone. And I love that because I love audiobooks. And I thought, well, this would be great, And when I got home, I said, you know what? I'm making a commitment. I'm going to read the Bible from start to finish. And I am going to really read it for the first time instead of just picking out Psalms and, all the pretty poetic verses. I'm 30 years old. I'm a big girl now. I need to just read the whole thing. And that's when everything just went. The slaves in Leviticus, the Baal and his donkey. It just seemed silly. It seems silly, and it seems sickening.
Yes, so hold on a minute. We have a pattern arising. Livy here decided to read a Bible. Livy, after reading the Bible, became an atheist. So, is it way out of left field for me to extrapolate that reading the Bible creates atheists? If this is the case, then I question the number of Christians who claim to be Christians that have actually read the Bible. Not just sit and listen to sermons on church or at church or on TV or on YouTube, but actually picked up the Bible as a book and read the bloody thing as a book. If you start reading the Bible, Genesis 1:1, let's say, and you read all the way to the end of Revelation, and you will notice, you'll come to the conclusion, you will know innately that what you have just read is a collection of made-up stories. Imagination. That's it. You'll know that. And I think Livy did that. Congratulations, Livy, for sticking with it. I mean, it's not light reading and it's not short reading. Carry on, though.
Too, God liked the aroma of the blood from the sacrificed animals.
Yeah.
That really disturbed me. And the Passover, him hardening the Pharaoh's heart. I mean, I was really reading it. I really wanted to get to know this God that I had forgotten about and neglected and almost stopped believing in. And I was really reading it, and I was confused, very confused. And then I kept saying, well, maybe once I get to the New Testament, it'll get better, And as I kept going further and further into the Old Testament, there's verses like, happy are those who dash their babies against the rocks. Don't leave anything left alive. Kill everything that breathes. Even plunge your swords into the beating hearts of babies. It made me sick, and I'm actually still reading, and I'm in Galatians right now in the New Testament, and it's a lot different than the Old Testament, but I'm just not buying it. If Jesus is part of this Trinity, and they were all one, then you have to get to know the God that He's a part of the Trinity with, right? But before I
She has an excellent point. She has An excellent point. She, as I luckily predicted, that she started reading the Bible from the beginning, from the Hebrew Bible, Genesis, and then she wasn't satisfied. Fair enough. I mean, the story's a story, but what you expect from it is she wasn't satisfied. So she carried on reading the Old Testament, which is kind of the continuation. And when she read the old, I mean, it's bad enough in the Old Testament that it's got all this brutality and this horrendous disdain for human life. But then she went to the New Testament, and she found stories of burning flesh and the smell of blood and all sorts of disgusting stuff. And if you look at her, you can actually see she's distressed. She's a sensitive woman, and she's picked up a lot of stress from her reading. Maybe not from the content so much, I mean, because it's all fiction, but the expectation of anything she reads, or everything she reads, to open up her mind to understand reality better. And the opposite actually happens. Because once you realize that the Bible, the stories, the whole concept is childish, is okay, let's not say it's childish. Let's say it's long, tall yarns for adults. That's it. It's a book of yarns that is not appropriate for children, but is okay for adults if you like yarns. Well, that's pretty much what it is. And I think Livi is realizing that.
I just wanted to give that little bit of a Max story. That's pretty much how I ended up where I'm at now, not believing. The one thing that caused me to stray away from it and not believe it anymore is the source itself, the actual Bible. And my family has a very hard time believing that. I've repeated that several times, and they just can't accept that. They think that I hate God, that I'm just rebelling against God, and I'm sure you people out there can relate. If y'all can, just leave your comments or advice for me, things I could have did differently, or maybe share some of your stories.
Yeah, poor Livi. Wow, that's the one so far that has hit me the hardest of all the deconversion stories. This one's hit home. So I just want to process it just for a second. Okay. The second thing I'm going to do then is, as always, even though it is late and hot, time zones are all weird, I would like to recognize the chat room. Algorithm, I do appreciate you joining us. It's always nice to see you, because you actually make a contribution. Usually at this time, I would invite all the viewers into a conversation room. Take care, algorithm. You gotta run. No problem. This isn't gonna be very long anyway. Like I said, usually this is when I invite everybody that's watching into a conversation room so we can discuss perhaps what we just watched or anything else. But It's coming up to 12 midnight. It's cooling down a little bit. It's down to 27 degrees Celsius. Now, for all you Americans out there, I don't care if you don't know what 27 degrees Celsius is. It's time you learned. It's time that you figured. The time that you. This is what I'm going to say to you, Americans. Okay. The American political dynasty is done. Your leader is Joe Biden. Okay, Americans? Because your leader is Joe Biden, we non-Americans don't give a fuck about your Fahrenheit. It's 27 degrees Celsius, you figure it out. Or you adopt the French system, or the French metric system of Celsius against your Fahrenheit. That is in order. If you Americans want to stay in the world order, you have to drop your Fahrenheit and listen and adopt Celsius. Because you have Joe Biden. No other reason. You got the weakest president in the history of weak presidents in Joe Biden. I can't tell you how how my eyes were opened by the lack of political awareness of the American people. I think religion in America, the way you get indoctrinated in religion, you're a sheep, you just follow the flock. Politically, it's exactly the same for them. Bloody mess. Well, that's all I have to say on that subject. I do want to present more deconversion stories, and I will. But right now, I'm going to just stick with this one. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the views. And the comments, if any, are also appreciated. So do leave some below. Thank you again. See you in the next one. Version stories, and I will. But right now, I'm going to just stick with this one. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the views.